It's 6 o'clock, and I'll call the meeting to order. And Rob, would you call the roll, please?
Sure. Mrs. Sweet.
Here.
Ms. Least.
Here.
Mr. Hanna.
Here.
Mr. Avery. Mr. Whitaker.
Here.
Mr. Bear.
Here.
And we do have a quorum of council. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And good evening, everyone. This is the regular session of the Enon Village Council. This is Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. Any additions to our agenda?
Make a motion to excuse Mr. Avery. He called a little bit earlier this afternoon.
I'll second.
I have a short
Call
communication.
the roll, please.
Sorry.
Ms. Least.
Yes.
Mr. Hanna.
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet.
Yes.
And Mrs. Sweet.
I'm
Oh, no,
sorry.
you're fine.
I'm in a hurry, can you tell? I just have a brief communication.
Okay. Anything else? Let's go to meeting minutes. And first up, I think we have April 23rd, 2024. And if the contents of those look correct to the council, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hanna.
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet.
Yes.
Ms. Least.
Yes.
And those are approved as presented. Let's go to the special meeting for May 7th, 2024. And I think those have been, there was a correction to those, Rob.
They're corrected.
Correct.
They were corrected now? Okay, great, thank you. So if they look okay for council, I'd entertain a motion and a second to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
And call the roll, please.
Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet.
Yes.
Ms. Least.
Yes.
Mr. Hanna.
Yes.
And those are approved as presented. Let's go into finances. Rob, I'll turn it over to you. Good evening.
Good evening, council. The finances were not distributed in time to make the agenda, but they have been subsequently. So all of April's books are closed and reconciled. It is your pleasure whether we approve them this evening or you'd rather have more time to digest them since you only got them yesterday. But I will go over fund balances in the interim. General fund today sits at $266,180.88. Street construction, $66,895.93. The ARPA funds are at $130,176.75. Police levy fund at $301,876.78. Special police revenue, $12,752.34. The Mayor's Court Computer Fund, $1,422.50. Water Fund, $344,936.21. Water contingency at $109,822.34. Total of all pooled funds, $1,154,346.08. We received, since our last meeting, our real estate rollback funds from the state of Ohio, and that came in at just under $32,000. Those are funds that when we pay our property taxes, a certain portion goes to the state and the state gives it back to us. So of course, there's a little bit of a fee that's taken out of that, but we have received those. So our first half settlement is now complete and accounted for.
There's always a fee associated with getting money, it seems like, from the government. And I've never been able to figure that out. What is that percentage, Rob? Is it like?
It depends on which one it is.
Okay.
So there's
Well, let's not complicate it too
so
much.
the county has several fees,
Gotcha.
and it just depends on the levy type. And then the state additionally has, and it depends on if you're talking about real property or mobile homes,
Okay.
and if it's ag land, which has a different.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll move that we accept the bank reconciliation for April.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? And call the roll, please.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet.
Yes.
Ms. Least.
Yes.
Mr. Hanna.
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Bank reconciliation has been approved as presented. Rob, I know you've been working on the ordinance for the special fund that we're trying to put together. You'd had some communication with the state of Ohio. If you could just give us all a brief update on that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. After some correspondence with some members of the Parks Committee and administration, have reached out to the state auditor's office for some clarification, and without having dedicated the park as of yet, and without having decided how the operation of that entity will exist between the township and the village, we're going to go ahead and create in the general funding line a separate fund for parks, and that will be restricted to or I think we're going to determine the construction, maintenance, and perpetuation of a sports park to be housed at, and list the parcel numbers. Doesn't have any expenditure specifics with it. We can add that at a different time, or we can go to more of a capital improvement fund, which has a little bit of a different regulation to it. Like we talked about before, when we create a fund, all that it is a line on the ledger. It's not a separate bank account, and it won't be accounted separately like that. It will be with the pooled funds, and then we will have it in our accounting system, and you can see the receipts and the expenditures. That said, there will be no interest that accrues to that fund. The funds that are allowed to accrue interest in the state of Ohio under a municipal corporation are the general fund and the street fund, because of state highway money that we get. When you hold funds in trust, like we do for water payments, those are allowed to receive interest because of the way that enterprise fund is established by the state legislature. But for what we're trying to do here, it's just going to be a general purpose fund, and it will have the receipts will come in as donations.
So do you have enough information now to construct that ordinance that is going to be required?
I will have a draft ordinance for you to vote on if you'd like next meeting.
Okay. And then once the council passes it, it has to go to, if I understand it correct, the state of Ohio?
So once the council passes that ordinance, we will take a certified copy of that ordinance to the state of Ohio, and they have a form, the auditor has a form that we have to complete as well. And so that packet will go off, and then they will approve it. And once that's approved, it will come back to us, and then I will make up a new estimate of resources document for the county budget commission. And the county budget commission will then approve that as well. So they're not approving us having the fund, they're just approving our new statement.
Gotcha.
And after that, we'll be off to the races.
Okay. Appreciate your work, and I know we all just want to make sure that it's done in the proper manner, so we appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I appreciate his knowledge about the whole thing. I'm floored.
Do we have any questions for our fiscal officer this evening? Okay, thanks, Rob. Couple of items of communication. Citizen of the Year will be this Sunday, the 19th at 2 o'clock at the Church of God on Snyder Road. And just a quick update on our drinking water source protection meeting that was held on April 26th. We reviewed the current VOC testing, the levels. Mr. Brent Huntsman with the Tarrant Corporation was here, kind of gave his take on everything. We are in good shape. He did suggest one thing, that we go ahead and do some initial sampling for the contaminants, the PFAS that are in that category. Kevin, you might know a little bit more than what I do on this if you want to jump in, but I know it's a little bit more complicated than just saying PFAS. There's a lot of compounds that are associated with that, but the EPA has come out with a new maximum contaminant level, which is lower than what they had initially established, and it would be advisable for us to test at that lower level and just see what we get, if anything. Hopefully we don't get any hits on it. Want to add to that?
I think you said it. I can't even say the correct name for it. So
Yeah, it's pretty complicated. There's no doubt about
I think
it.
you explained it very well. It's for a general term. They call it the forever chemical. It's in everything. Packaging containers and things like that. So it's one of those things that we're going to test for.
So just to kind of put it in perspective, most of the things like the VOCs that we test for are in parts per million. The maximum contaminant level that is being proposed for these contaminants is 4 parts per trillion. So it's a very small amount. So I think we're going to go ahead and test, see what we get, and go from there. So, Mrs. Sweet, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I just have a quick moment to say happy birthday, Ruth Stewart. Her birthday was last Tuesday. She's now 91 years young.
Congratulations.
That's it, sir.
Congratulations.
I think she's blushing.
Kevin, I'll turn it over to you. Staff reports. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, residents. First thing I'd like to say, I did have a few calls as people watching these recordings. Some people's not coming through quite good enough, so make sure when we're talking we can get a little closer to the, not right on it, but just a little closer. It's just so that it kind of projects out over. So, first item is the Mayor's Court report for the month of April. Do you have that in front of you? There was total of 29 cases, 27 traffic, 2 criminal. Total funds received for the month of April, current month, of $4,586.60. Year to date, $12,728.60. Total remitted to the state, $862.50. Year to date, $2,214. Total remitted to the village, $3,689.60. Year to date, $10,427.60. And total dispersed, $45,86.60. And year to date, $12,728.60.
I'll move that we accept the mayor's court report as presented.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Ms. Least,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item number two, we got contacted by the National Trail Parks and Recreation Committee. They would like to use Galloway Park on July 12th. I know we got a lot of time, and I'll have more information as it gets closer for a movie night. So I would like to have council's approval for that.
We had that a few years ago, and it was a big success.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Kevin, would we want to advise them that we very likely might have some of the stuff done in Enon Park at that point to give them an option? If we peel back behind the water plant to have the parking lot there, just as a
Let 'em
thought
know.
in case they,
Mhm.
does that make sense to anybody?
How many people were at the last one, you know?
I'm not sure.
That'd be the only thing I'd be concerned about with Galloway. You know, I don't know that there's that much parking.
Parking.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
There might have to be some parking that would take place in the field.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I would be concerned about the parking.
Enon Park, we should have the parking lot done by that point.
Okay.
You don't need a
Permit
motion or anything,
something,
do
or
you?
motion, or just?
is it the consensus of council that they're okay with this?
I'm good with
Okay.
the movie
Yeah, I'm
night.
fine with it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'll mention that to them, Rick, and see what they think about that. So, the wastewater line project hopefully is going to be starting next week. I know all the locates was called in, and they were starting to locate everything. We got to locate the water lines, but looks like that project's going to get.
So they were waiting on supplies?
They were waiting on
Those
supplies,
have-
and to my
right.
knowledge, that they whatever they were waiting on, they have received. So they called in the locates. And
Good deal.
So,
Okay.
so you'll probably see some staging of items, things like that, and the project will soon be started. So, the survey letters that was sent out, approximately 1,300 was sent out, and I'm quite surprised on the amount of returns we're getting. We probably approximately 235, 240 returns.
Wow.
So I was, knock on wood, they'll keep coming in, and we get a stack of mail every day. So they're getting a better reception than I thought.
And then somebody's got to go through each one of those, right?
And Tina's going through them, and she's making a spreadsheet and with updated emails and phone numbers, things like that, and just There's a few that we have to go back out and check that maybe somebody checked lead or the magnet stuck or things like that. So, I had a call that kind of was helping a couple people through, over the phone, kind of walking them through the steps. But,
Sure.
So I expect we'd have to go out and visit a few houses and stuff, but getting a good response. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. Pre-construction meeting for the county resurfacing agreement or program is this Friday at 10 a.m. I did get a agreement for the resurfacing and an agreement for the pavement marking as well. So we would need to probably have a motion to enter into these agreements. The resurfacing agreement, this is for Countryside. I know we've been looking to do that for the past couple of years. The estimated cost was a little over $70,000. The bid came in at $50,835. So all the bids came in pretty good, even the pavement markings. So that is for the resurfacing agreement. And the pavement markings, this is not any crosswalks or turn arrows. This is just for edge lines and the center lines. The county did not put out for bid or include in the bids for anybody those type of things. So I'm going to have to get with PAR and the other company that did Enon and get a quote on arrows and crosswalks and things like that.
So what was that one for?
This is for the edge lines and center lines.
What was the amount?
This was $1,932.
So you need a motion to approve those.
And the,
Approve those.
and the pavings and mark, that's for the
Countryside.
countryside also?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the two together, and then plus you have to get a bid for the arrows? Is
I
that
will
what you're
get
saying?
two estimates, one from PAR, and I can't remember A&B Asphalt or the company that they used out here for the marking of the arrows and crosswalks and stop blocks, things like that.
So we need another motion
The
for
turn
that
lane
or not?
arrows on the pavement.
On Countryside?
Not on Countryside. This pavement marking is just for Main Street and
Oh, okay.
Countryside's just asphalt.
We go in with
Grinding
the
and
county every year, take advantage of their opportunity for the
Yeah.
the
I'm
good
sorry if I was
prices.
confusing.
So while they're not connected, they're kind of connected because they're both associated with the county.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
But,
Yeah.
so the 5835 is for the countryside, and then the 1932 is,
For the striping of Main Street and out past the water plant.
so that doesn't have anything to do with countryside?
No,
Okay.
no, sorry. If I,
That's
I'm-
okay. All right. I'll make a motion that we move forward with the 5835 for countryside.
May I amend that?
You may.
We need the motion to be to authorize Kevin to enter into the resurfacing
agreement.
agreement with Clark County.
Yes.
Okay.
And the amount that I had was $50,835.
$50,835.03.
Second.
3.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
That is something we were planning on doing this year out of the street construction, maintenance, and repair. We have about $67,000. That's where
Correct.
that 50,000 is going to come from. Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Least,
Yes.
Mr. Hanna,
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Mr. Bear,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet.
Yes.
And then the pavement markings the same, and that was $1,932.30.
And actually, you don't need a motion for that. It's well below the limit.
Okay.
Yep.
And like I said, the Friday is the pre-construction meeting, so I'm going to hopefully have some sort of idea when they're going to be kind of starting, because they're going to grind Countryside and repave then. That way I can send out letters to everybody in that neighborhood. So,
I was going to ask that. Good.
we had a water leak in Spring Lakes Edition that the guys jumped on along with the county. The county came in and used their vac truck because the gas line in that area is down at the end of the cul-de-sac there in Spring Lake. Gas line is right over the leak. So we had them come in, and they were gracious enough and to help us out to locate the gas lines. So after that was located, it was piece of cake. Everything went well. Everybody jumped in and did a good job. So that's all.
It's better
that's all
to
fixed.
get cooperation in locating than to hit it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so.
I did get an engineering quote for a storm replacement or storm extension. We were talking about, or storm study, excuse me. We were talking about that for Enon, Xenia, and
Green Vista.
Green Vista. And I've got a Teams meeting tomorrow with CMT, Shelby from CMT, to get another quote. So I have two. So I'll have 2 quotes at the next meeting to present for that. And that's to kind of do some storm work in that area there. So just a reminder, office going to be closed on Memorial Day, Monday, the 27th. I think that's it for now.
Any questions for our administrator?
I have, can someone take a look at South Harrison Street and Main? Like the bushes around that corner. So there's a lot of people walking from the parking lot for the Last Queen to the Last Queen and walking anyway now that it's getting warmer.
Yeah.
It's
I know we
pretty
had them
bad looking
trimmed.
that way.
I know we had them trimmed, I think last year. He cut
Yeah.
them back, so I'll get hold of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Kevin.
Thanksgiving.
Chief, we'll turn it over to you. You have a big week coming up.
I do.
Yes.
Good evening,
Good
Mayor,
evening.
Council, residents. Real quick before I forget what Mr. Whitaker said, I actually saw that today. I was driving, and it does obstruct the right of way when you're going northbound there on Harrison. So good observation, and I was going to point that out. So I'm glad you did. Yes. So this is Police Memorial Week. It started May 12th. Unfortunately, it did start with the death of an officer up in Euclid, but that's unfortunate. A 23-year-old officer was killed up there, but that's what this week's for, to honor those of fallen officers. But it's the 12th through the 18th, and then tomorrow we will fly our flag at half staff for honor of Police Week. So thank you to my officers and all the officers everywhere for your week. I'm sorry, I was at the Chiefs End service the week before last, the 28th, 29th, and the 30th, and then I was down in Alabama for the scripting class. So I just got back in the office this Monday. So I'm sorry, it's been a lot to try to get in. Memorial Day Parade is May 26th at 2 p.m. That'll be from Green and Schools up to the cemetery. So there will be no candy at that parade. I know some people get confused. We don't throw candy out, but we do it on the 4th of July. So for the folks looking, ask why, that's why. We do it on the 4th. I know some floats do. We just don't. I spoke to some of the service people, and they just said it wasn't one of those days to throw candy. So the police department has never thrown candy at Memorial Day, only because of the folks I spoke to in the service just said that's not what they do. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad to do that. I'm just saying that's why we don't.
And we meaning the village.
We meaning the police
The police
department,
department.
why the cruisers not.
Oh, your
Sometimes I know the
cruisers
mayor's
don't.
heard me a
Okay,
few
got it.
times, and I figured since I council,
Other people on other floats will be throwing candy. They will be littering along with everyone.
absolutely. I'm just some people are like, "Where's the candy?"
Self, Brenda?
No, the Historical Society is going to.
But that's the 26th at 2 p.m. In front of you, you'll see the April statistics. At the bottom, something I started in 24. I just put what the officers do. It helps me at the end of the year, and then it just kind of helps you see what's going on. The only notable, we definitely had an increased amount of traffic stops and citations. They're up a little bit, but we also have additional manpower, and we have a lot of coverage now. So let's back up. Speaking of coverage, last night at about 2,300 hours, our new officer, Hupp, was made a recovery of a stolen vehicle out of the county, though we didn't know it was stolen yet. But he did do a stop, and it was discovered today that vehicle was stolen. So congratulations,
Congratulations.
Officer Hupp, for the recovery on that.
Great job.
Yep, good job.
Yeah, typically we find out they're stolen, then we go look for them, but in this case, young man. We ended up towing him for some other violations and then get that back to the owners today. So that had nothing to do with all the law enforcement present that you guys saw earlier. That was just somebody else that wanted our attention a couple different times. But that was taken care of as well, and that person's incarcerated for those of you that saw that today. Miscellaneous communications. I have earlier the first week of May, the Mental Health Recovery Board, the crisis intervention team had reached out to me several months ago and asked that the police department, they put their counselors through. Typically, law enforcement goes and trains with the counselors to learn how to deal with people in a crisis situation, and then law enforcement would go out and spend a day with the counselors. However, this year they do that for the officers, but this year they ran one for the counselors, and then they did it reverse, and they had the counselors come out and ride with law enforcement. And they had asked me a few months ago if the village would be willing to participate in that. Of course, I told them yes. So they did, and I got a nice letter, so I'll just read that. It just says, to Chief Holler, wanted to personally thank you for your assistance with providing ride-alongs for our inaugural crisis intervention team, course for behavioral health professions. He was amazed that our law enforcement partners across Clark, Greene, Madison counties were able to offer a total of 24 ride-along slots so that all the attendees had this opportunity. The following day, they debriefed everyone's experience, and there was nothing but positive things to be said for this portion of the class. Several attendees stated they stayed longer, and others hoped to get a ride along again. Some shared stories of even helping their officer, deputy, or trooper with the crisis call, while others with less calls spoke with great conversation that helped understanding each other's worlds. Please extend my thanks to the employees you assigned to accommodate our behavioral health professionals. Based on all the feedback, they definitely represented your agency well and deserve recognition. Again, thank you for your collaboration and improving outcomes to those in crisis. Sincerely, Adam Kemp, Director of Operations for the Mental Health Recovery Board, Clark, Greene, and Madison counties. Thank you, sir, and we will continue to do that anytime we can.
Nice letter.
Yes. Short of that, I think I kept it short and sweet. My officers, forget anything, gentlemen? Nope.
So let me just say, I think on behalf of everybody that sits up here, we appreciate what you guys do. We know the challenges and sometimes the dangers that you face. We recognize that and we appreciate that. So thank you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Questions for our chief? All right, seeing none, let's go into so old business. Mr. Hanna, I'll turn it over to you. You had one item.
Kind of a conglomerate of one item, actually. And before we miss it, it would be remiss to not acknowledge the retirement of Deputy Wise and the party that was for Jeff Wise. A good Saturday evening, a lot of good people. The chief was there. I think several of us dropped in for a little bit. He did not take up our offer to be 472, so as far as the policeman in Enon, so we'll see where that goes. Left the door open for him, but anyway, we congratulate Jeff for all of his years at the sheriff's office, and he's been a good neighbor and he's been a good friend, so we appreciate that. Update with the park. I should have mentioned something to begin with. The mayor and myself and Chief Holler participated in the grand reopening and reception at Speedway headquarters or 7-Eleven headquarters on May 2nd. We were fortunate enough to be able to meet the chief operating officer and executive vice president Doug Rosecrans, who's out of Texas. Had a tour of the building. The building, if you've never been in there, for lack of another term, is almost unbelievable as far as the ergonomics, the layout, the hygienics of it, and just the technology that's there is amazing. So anybody that we could talk to that we had a chance to meet with or to associate with our park, we did, whether it was Dayton Chamber of Commerce, the Springfield Chamber of Commerce, the Dayton Coalition, as well as the 7-Eleven people and the local Speedway people to try to get some support for our park. It was in my opinion, a very good meeting. We discussed a lot of the basics and the necessities that we had facing us with the park itself, our plan, some of our limitations with financing and the budget side off of it. And basically, we're told that Speedway wanted to be, 7-Eleven wanted to be a good neighbor with us. And once that we got the park going, or there was some movement on it, that they would be glad to come back and talk to us about furthering their participation in the park. I think that there was a good feeling, and the mayor may want to second that or not, but whether they were willing to invest themselves in the Enon community, and I definitely got a sense that they were willing to do that, and we'll keep our fingers crossed because, as we say, actions speak louder than words. But the meeting with them and with local President Sam Mulkey was very promising when you walk away from it. That kind of coincides with the fact that the village has been offered the bulk amount of dirt at Fairborn High School to transport out, should we need it, at over 20,000 yards there, the large pile of dirt that's on the south side of the high school. It would be on us to go ahead and transport it as far as loading and trucking out here. That's still pending. But what we did find out was that we met with 3 different contractors to try to move the road, the access road, proposed access road that goes from south of Suburban Propane around the back of Suburban Propane and tie into the area behind the park, having that actually completed. And the area that's directly behind the water department in the Enon Park that has been the old soccer fields, to get the topsoil peeled off of that, stock that stockpile of soil back behind Suburban Propane, put in a parking lot so we can start having food trucks, or we can start having some type of gatherings to start bringing people into the park to try to get a little bit of excitement and enthusiasm where people can actually start using the park instead of seeing a sign out front saying that someday it'll be there. So along with that, I think we're making the logistical efforts right now to start the walking area that would go around the perimeter of the park. Roughly, from what I've been able to see, that should come about 1.75 mile. We have that pretty much under grass at this point where it could be usable tomorrow. But the area back by the railroad tracks on the west side of the property, that's going to have to be cleaned out with brush and maybe make a little more conducive to people walking back in that. But the effort to try to make the park viable to the public is the utmost concern for us right now, to try to get that done. We do have one bid on the work items that we discussed. The one has dropped, and we're awaiting a second bid on that, so we can actually try to get some dirt moving on it and get some return on the funding. So a lot of things have happened in a very short period, and we're still trying to stay up with it. And our priority will be to try to get a pad back there where we can start working on softball and baseball fields for our kids, and that's to me our number one priority right now, to get them a permanent home. But I will say that Mr. Bockelman and Mr. Beekman and some others are making Snyder Road actually look halfway decent. They put a lot of work and effort into that, but we want to give them something they'll be proud of where they can bring people in respectfully. So, Tim?
Do we have any questions for Mr. Hanna? Nice summary, thank you. A lot of activity going on. What you don't understand is there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes just to get a few results. Lots of phone calls, lots of contacts, and we're just staying with it. But Rick, I appreciate what you're doing on this project for the village.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, do we have any other old business or new business? All right, seeing none, comments from our public? Public comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Yep.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
They are dressed that time.